What is up, guys? DT Ninja here to give you guys my RuroKen Hokkaido arc chapter 32 review. Yo, this chapter of Kenshin was freaking epic. Yo, everything from Ashitaro coming in and fighting the Yaminobu, Kenshin coming in with Ryu Kansen Kogarashi, which we haven't seen in a long time, and then of course Aran seeing his strategy come to just coming up with it on the top of his head, and of course seeing him struggle, getting a battle wound, and also just seeing Kanryu, seeing through what's actually happening. Kanryu actually opening up, and we learn more about his character. Very interesting development. And of course, Aran uses it as motivation to get up and fight. And of course, he sees Ashitaro, his trump card, and he tells him, draw the Mugenjin, Ashitaro. And of course, we see the Homu Radama and the flames come out. Yo, and it sets off and ignites the gunpowder, setting off the explosion. That whole sequence was freaking awesome. I loved it. Really awesome stuff. Really good. I really like Aran's character. The more I see of him, the more I want. Really good stuff. I like the whole strategy type thing. He really comes up with things really quickly in the heat of battle, which is very interesting because fighters need to do that, and he's not really a fighter, but the way he utilizes things around him is just genius. It's really interesting, and you just want to see more of this guy. He's becoming slowly my favorite character of the Hokkaido arc. But yeah, towards the end, Ashitaro releasing the Mugenjin, that was freaking awesome. So yeah, it was a great chapter. I'd have to give it a 9 out of 10. Really good, great progression, character development, the surprise factor towards the end. I mean, just the whole sequence of events was done really well. Very good stuff. Okay, guys, so my review is going to be a little bit different this time. I'm going to share some of my favorite moments from the chapter at first, and then I'm going to share a what the hell moment. This is basically something that made you say, what the hell? What did I just read? And of course, there was one in this chapter. And then finally, we're going to look at some notable things throughout the chapter that I noticed, and hopefully they give us some good discussion for my discussion questions and the video next week for my discussion in this chapter. All right, so let's get to it. My favorite moments. Okay, first one, Aran surrounds himself in gunpowder. Okay, so he comes up with this plan based on the fact that Honda has a metal book. So he gets the idea that if he uses the gunpowder, he smashes the gunpowder and he pours it out, and he pours it and kicks it so it's all in the air, it's around, on the enemy, it's on him, it's everywhere. So it's like a shield of gunpowder. And then he provokes the enemy. He says, I dare you. Why don't you attack me? What are you going to do now? So he basically provokes him, thinking that the shuriken attacks are going to set off the gunpowder and create a shield, basically, of explosions. So that was really interesting. I like the idea of it. Of course, we learn that the shuriken, or the throwing knives, are actually made of aluminum, so they don't go off. But the fact that he's able to come up with this is very, very interesting, and it just shows how smart this guy is and how quickly he can react to things. So really cool stuff. I really enjoyed it. And of course, seeing Aran struggle in this chapter, because of course he gets shot in the eye with the shuriken, and basically I don't know if he can see or not, but basically he's injured, he's down and out, it looks like he can't continue, and then somehow he finds the courage to keep going, never giving up, utilizing people around him, and also just overcoming the struggle struggle. So that was really cool. And of course, at the end, we see kind of the, friends, obviously best friends, Ashitaro and Aran, using kind of like, they're in sync, basically. He's like, draw the Mugenjin. He's like, well, if Aran says I'm going to draw it, I'm going to draw it. So he basically draws it. So that was really cool. But yeah, I really liked that moment of Aran showing the gunpowder and the whole sequence of his strategy. So that was really cool. Okay, the next thing, we see Kanryu open up like never before in this chapter, revealing his true self. So basically, we believe that Kanryu is this cowardly bastard, scumbag merchant who only cares about himself, and he kind of is, right? He kind of is. Of course, he does care about Aran. I really do feel that. But he's done some bad things, he's killed some people with that Gatling gun. But actually, we learn that in this chapter he's bowing down. Please save my life. This is kind of the old Kanryu, and Kenshin points it out. He's like, you haven't learned anything in these 5 years. You're still the same. You're still the same old Kanryu. And so what's interesting about this, he tells Aran that there's nothing wrong with wanting money, but look at this guy. This is the miserable end of Kanryu. Look at him. And Kanryu reacts in a way that I've never seen before. He just has a maddening rage, passionate, saying that, he would rather be poor and have no money, an outcast, than be saved by the Batosai. In fact, he's been always poor. He's always been poor from a very young age. And this was kind of eye-opening because we didn't know this. We thought he was kind of entitled and was rich for, most of his life, but this is not the case at all. So it kind of gave us a look into who he really is. And then he goes on to explain he once ate porridge made of clay. Yes, made of clay. And then he says that he used the saltiness from his tears to make it edible. That's pretty crazy. That's really sad. That means he sat there with a bowl of porridge and he's literally crying into the porridge in order for him to be able to eat it. So this was really shocking and really sad to learn. But it was also interesting to learn that he endured these hardships and he's misunderstood in a way, So I found that very interesting. He even goes on to say that, money is the thing that really validates my life. It's the only thing. So that's why he's money driven, because he had to endure these hardships and money was there for him. Nothing else was able to help him, but money got him through it. So that's why he likes money so much. That's why making money is Kanryu. That's why that's his character. So I found that very interesting, and yeah, it was great development on Kanryu's part. And also, we also see how he has an influence, and a positive one, on Aran. So that's another plus. Also, in the original, when he's using his Gatling gun, and when Kenshin uses his reverse blade sword and slices off the handle that he's using, he basically is trying to beg for his life, right? Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Kenshin basically says, why don't you ask your money to save you?
Please don't kill me. If you're begging for your life, why don't you ask your money to save you?
What's interesting about this is literally in this chapter, it applies to him because for a long time, money has been there to save him. So actually, that applies to him. So it's not just him insulting Kanryu. To Kanryu, that actually is the truth. So I found that interesting, but I wanted to share that scene with you guys from the anime because it's pretty funny. But I found that interesting that it actually relates back to Kanryu. So yeah. Okay, the next one. Aran sees through Kanryu's mannerisms in this chapter. So he's actually bowing down. We think that he's, making a fool of himself and he's disgraceful. He has no shame. No, he's actually pretending to have this pose where he's making money, where he wants to make money. This is what Kanryu does when he makes that pose. So Iran is able to see it almost immediately. He sees Kanryu and he's like, oh, so that's what you're doing. You're not giving up, so I should not give up. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So in chapter 25, the value of money, we actually see Kanryu right here. You see the coin right between his fingers, right between his hands. And so that's what it is. That's the pose he's making. Even though he's, down like this, he's like this. This is what he's doing. He's pretending that he wants to make money. So basically, Iran sees this in a positive, and he says he's not going to give up, so I'm not going to give up. He uses it as motivation to keep going and keep fighting. So that's really awesome. And I like how Kanryu has a positive, influence on Iran. So really, really interesting. Okay, the next thing, Ashitaro arrives, and of course, Iran tells him to release or draw the Mugenjin. That was awesome, right? We see the flames of the Homuradama. Now, not only does this indicate that Iran and Ashitaro have become very good friends, they trust each other, they're best friends, basically, but also that basically Iran is a great tactician. He's a great tactician who is able to think on his feet at a moment's notice. Think about this. This is a serious moment, and he's able to come up with, and think about it, he's bleeding. Ashitaro's like, you're injured, man, and he just stands up with a smirk on his face, like he's ready to attack, and then he tells Ashitaro what to do. So the whole idea of it was very good and interesting. I like the whole dynamic between the two of them. So that was really cool. And of course, Kenshin is kind of clueless. He doesn't really know what's going on. He doesn't know that gunpowder is surrounding the area. So the whole thing of it was very interesting. And yeah, that's just my opinion. And I really liked that scene. Okay, moving on. What the hell scene? Okay, so this moment, what the hell moment, has to go to the Sozo brothers. Okay, so Ashitaro is fighting off all the Yaminobu, and he's like, damn it, there's no end to them all. So then these two brothers of the Yaminobu show up, and they're like, we're gonna take him. And they're like these really, really creepy looking guys, and I mean their shirts are off and their bodies are touching, and they have like a technique called the cross flesh transformation. So like I'm looking like, what the hell did I just read? And then obviously Ashitaro's like, that's just gross, like disgusting. So it is one of those moments where you're like, let's turn the page, but like at the same time it's interesting, but at the same time, it's like, what the hell did I just read? So that has to go to the Sozo brothers of the Yaminobu. The dual technique, the cross-flesh transformation. Oh, man. Wish I could forget that scene, but okay, let's move on. Notable things. These are things that hopefully will bring some good discussion, things I noticed throughout the chapter. Number 1, cover page. The very opening page is all in English. Yes, guys, they're all in English. That means that all the techniques shown are in English. Even the title of the chapter was in English. So the author actually wrote these in English, which is very interesting. Never have I seen Kenshin be in English by the author himself. It begs the question, is Watsuki or his wife, Kaoru Kurosaki, are they watching my content? Are they following my content? What reason is there to bring English into it other than, me, and my work? So it kind of makes me wonder, and I really appreciate it if that's the case, because he really did some very interesting, and it gave me a better idea of the techniques, especially for Honda, who is definitely in this chapter. Basically, he's the one with the shuriken in the book. This one right here. His special weapon It's called RuroKen, right? RuroKen. Well, I had it as the hidden writing blades because he writes, right? That's why I said. But he said it's the book type throw knife or book type throwing knives. So what I came up with was book type shuriken because literally he has a shuriken on his metal book. So that's why I came up with that. But it also helped me out a lot. So I really appreciate it. Whoever it was, whether it's the author, whether it's his wife or his staff, whoever it was, I really appreciate it because now we get a better understanding of the techniques, and now we understand of what's really happening. As far as the technique goes. The next thing, Ashitaro mentions hunger when he is fighting. This is very interesting. This is something he's always doing. He's very hungry all the time. But when he's fighting, it becomes a vicious type thing. Because remember, when he fights and he's very hungry, it's his survival killer instincts kick in. And it kind of unleashes that other side, that darker half of him. So I found that interesting that they're keeping that to his character. And it also makes you wonder because when he sees the Sozo brothers, he's about to release the Mugenjin, but it's right after he says, I haven't eaten today and I'm getting hungry. That's when he shows his Mugenjin like this, like he's going to release it. So is the sword calling out to him? It's kind of like his hunger is, kind of like the catalyst to release the Mugenjin there, and it's almost like the sword is calling out to him, tempting him. It makes you wonder, especially towards the end, But yeah, I found that interesting. So I'm going to show you one instance where he uses his sword in that manner. He's very hungry. One of the members of Shishio's old faction basically takes a rice ball and smashes it on the ground. And what does Ashitaro do? He breaks his spear with his teeth, and then he puts it right through his neck and kills the guy. I mean, over a rice ball. This just shows the viciousness and the darker side of him. So we know it's there. But I found that very interesting that it mentioned the hunger. So good stuff. Okay, the next thing. Kenshin arrives and stops Ashitaro from drawing the sword, uses Ryukansen Kogarashi, which we haven't seen in a while. The dragon coiling flash. And basically, he's in the air kind of spinning, and he smashes the Sozo brothers.
That moron better not miss this chance.
There's more to it. Ryukansen Kogarashi!
Anyways, okay, the next one. Honda uses a rapid-fire attack. It's called Sokudoku. Sokudoku is the attack of the book style or book type shuriken or shuriken. So basically, they're shurikens. They come out flying even faster than before. And this is where he attacks Iran and cuts him in the eye. Now, what's interesting about this is I translated Sokudoku, and it literally means rapid reading. And we all know that the Honda is writing in a book, right? So he's not reading, he's writing. So the person he's attacking is the one reading. But it also begs the question, is it called rapid reading because he's actually kind of an author? Maybe he's the author of the Book of Warriors. Remember the Book of Warriors of the Kinkaku Heki? It makes me wonder if he's the actual author of it. He's actually adding people to it. It makes me wonder, because I remember he said he's the author behind the scenes, so maybe he's the, person writing it all down. Also, his nickname is the Chronicle, or the Record, recording the history of the Warriors, so that really could be the case, and that's a good discussion question to think about. Is he, the author of the Book of Warriors? So, I found that interesting. Okay, the next one. Honda calls Iran a half-wit because he's got ambition with only half the knowledge and half the determination. He warns him that if he continues in the way he does, he will end up dead. Now, I find this interesting because maybe this is kind of like a personal experience type thing. Honda is telling him this because he experienced this himself. He had ambition at one point. He's part of Kenkaku Heki. He has no freedom. So he had to learn the hard way. And what he's saying is that you should give up on your dreams because you're going to end up dead, basically. And especially the very end, he says, it should be enough to practice your little karate and survive. So I'm wondering, like, you guys know how the Kenkaku Heki practice and train, just survive. So maybe that last, line is actually about Honda himself training and practicing when he was younger. I don't know. Maybe it's more personal experience to Iran. Instead of just saying, I'm going to kill you, he just says, if you keep doing this, you shouldn't do this. It's kind of like he's warning him instead of threatening him. That's just my opinion. But that would be interesting to think about. Okay, the next thing. Ashitaro actually apologizes to Kenshin. Yes, guys, a rude character, a rude kid who had no parents. And from chapter 1, remember, he attacked Kenshin, and Kenshin got him out of trouble with the law, and he didn't even apologize then. But no, in this chapter, Kenshin says, why did you go into the base without me? Ashitaro says, my bad. Please don't be mad at us. First he says, my bad. And then he says, please. This is some serious growth on Ashitaro's part. He actually apologizes to Kenshin. And of course he calls him the old man. That's his, what he calls him. But at the same time, it shows that there's a level of trust there that is actually, they're growing in their relationship. They're starting to trust one another, and also it just shows growth on Ashitaro's part. That's where he fights him. And then afterwards, he's supposed to, apologize, but he doesn't. But here in this chapter, he does. So, anyways. Okay, let's move on. During Kanryu's passionate story of his great hardships growing up, being poor, not having things, he mentions the names Megumi Takane and Aoshi Shinomori. This is very interesting. Could the author be giving us a hint that these two characters are going to make their way to Hokkaido very soon? Are they going to be shown in the story? Are they going to reappear? I cannot wait to see that, but is that like a hint? I have to wonder. Aoshi's been mentioned several times. Megumi's been mentioned quite a few times, so I just get the feeling that he's giving us hints that maybe they're coming soon. Very interesting. Okay, the next thing, and the last one, when Ashitaro draws the Mugenjin, okay? Ashitaro, draw the Mugenjin, right? We see the Homuradama come almost immediately. It bursts forth, and it's almost like it's been calling out to him. I remember how I told you how his hunger has been, his sword is calling out to him, the power, he wants it. This goes back to Ashitaro's hunger and the Mugenjin tempting him. Now remember, in Ashitaro the ex-con, he's tempted by Shishio's words in the past, right? He's about to release the Mugenjin, and look at his eyes. His eyes are completely white. In this chapter, you see the same thing on his face because, all the flames are covering him, and it looks like he's possessed. He becomes in a trance. He's almost like the sword is controlling him almost. So it makes you wonder, is the sword calling out to him? And goes back to the first chapter where Kenshin actually poses the question when he looks at the Mugenjin. The Mugenjin, the sword, the demon sword from hell. He says, did he choose this sword, or did the sword choose him? That's another question to think about. Did Ashitaro choose the sword, or did the sword choose him in the way it's been shown, and how, he seems possessed when he uses it, and he acts differently and more vicious, and it kind of goes back to his survival instincts. All right, guys, so those were the notable things from the chapter. Hopefully we got some good discussion questions to talk about in the next video. I also want to let you guys know I have been working on Secret Life of Characters. So recently I finished Asahi, and I just finished editing Tamoto Sensei, that is the photographer, and also I'm going to be working on Eiji. So I'm going to leave a link in the description to give you guys can check out the latest updates on that. I'm also going to be working on some novel entries of Kaoru Kurosaki. I'm not going to do the entire novel, but I want to get something from it, because I feel like maybe there's something related to the Hokkaido arc even in those novels. I know they're between the Hokkaido and after, the original. So, but I have a feeling that it will be very interesting, and I will be sharing some of those either in my reviews or discussion. It'll probably be next month in the next chapter. But yeah. Okay, and also next week I will be doing an interesting facts video part 2. That will cover the interesting facts 6 through 10. And of course, there will be the discussion. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one.